Us live is the independent MP, Sophie Scamps. Sophie, good to see you. Thanks for your time this morning and congratulations on being sworn in yesterday. How did it feel?
Oh, it felt great. I've got to say it's an incredible honour that the people of Mackellar have put their trust in me to represent them. So it's a very exciting time, and it was a historic time for us to... It's the first time that Mackellar has voted anything other than coalition, and so we're newly independent after 73 years.
OK, well, you're straight into the nitty-gritty today because the climate bill is going to be up for debate. Chris Bowen says it's good to go. Will you support it in its current form?
Look, I would say that I have been really thankful that the government has genuinely reached out and tried to collaborate with us on this, which has been fantastic. And I'm also very thankful that this is a government that is acting on climate change and is treating it as an issue of great emergency and urgency. So the government has briefed us on the bill, and they've invited feedback, and they've invited suggested amendments, and then we've had further briefings from that. So one of the things that was very important for me to get across was the fact, as we keep hearing about, that 43% target was a floor, not a ceiling. So what that means really is that 43% is an absolute minimum. I took a 50% target as a minimum to the election in Mackellar, and that was based on the science and the Business Council of Australia saying that if we don't move to renewable energy targets, then we will be left behind and not able to sustain our current standard of living. So I am really welcoming this bill. There were a few amendments that needed to be made, and the other one, I should say, is the ratchet mechanism, so that we know if the science tells us, then we have the opportunity to respond to what the science is telling us is necessary to make sure that we maintain a livable planet. OK, a few points there. So back to the question, will you support it? Oh, look, I'll have to wait and see what comes out today, but with the discussions that I've had, I'm feeling positive. OK.
What amendments are we talking about here that you wanted changed, and the ones that had to be changed in the end because of your intervention?
So explicitly writing into the legislation that the 43% needed to be considered as a minimum target, not as a ceiling. So that's one thing. The next thing was the ratchet mechanism, so that we can wind that target up as needed and as necessary, depending on the science. Another one was having clear objectives and tying it to the Paris Agreement. So we know why we have these targets, you know, and can hold future governments to account as well on that. So we needed it to be explicitly written into the legislation that this legislation was tied to the Paris Accord and future accords going.
Would you be urging the Greens to just accept it?
Look, it's up to the Greens what they do. What I would say is that it's often very difficult to build consensus, but I think that's what this government is trying to do. I think they've genuinely reached out across the table to everyone, and I am very grateful for the time that they have given to me as well to provide suggestions.
As you mentioned, you took 50% to the election. I asked Zoe Daniel the same question yesterday. Are you going to disappoint your supporters if you accept or sign something that's lower than that?
Look, I think people are really ready for action on climate change, and this, of course, is a great step forward from what we had previously. People are going to engage in this. People want change, and people want us to get a solution. So, you know, we've got a major challenge ahead of us. We no longer want that adversarial type of arguing. We actually want a solution, and this is a good step forward.
The government has said that there's going to be no moratorium on new oil and new gas. There is the safeguard mechanism that is going to be a replacement for that. That's how the government is trying to assuage concerns from the Greens. Is that suitable in your opinion?
Look, I think the safeguard mechanism will go a long way to sending a signal to industry and investors. We do need to pay for our pollutions, you know, the polluters. So, yes, I think the safeguard mechanism will be very helpful. OK, Sophie Scamps, thank you for your time. We'll talk to you soon.